Yep.
Hey guys, Jim Bounds with Motorhome Rehab Ranch, and I just came off a weekend with my coach and my wife to the Keys. It was a very special trip because you know that I am still, and Mr. Carb guy, Quadrijet Carburetors has been my life. Does this pick up?
Picks up everything.
Well, but we've been trying to patch these things, patch problems. You know, ethanol's a problem, boiling points are a problem. And I felt there had to be a better way or a solution or something like that. Now, for years, people have put fuel injection on. The only thing that bothered me with all the fuel injection that has been out there is that if you get out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know that system, you're pretty much hooped because nobody else is going to want to work on it. So it kind of relegates itself to, you know, one of the techno geeks or somebody that wants to be technical about it and all that, which limits some of my customers because my customers want to use the coach. And I need to be able to put them where they're not in harm's way. And up until this point, that's been with the carburetor, and I still feel there's a lot to do with the carburetor. But still, we've got a lot of problems. I mean, we have to guard against, you know, the vapor lock. I can't tell you too much about that. And then the ethanol's getting the gaskets, and things are getting gummed up, and all kinds of problems like that. And we're just not, it hasn't seemed for a while that we've been able to get the good performance out of them. And I can't figure out why, so that, you know, I've been on the look. This video, by the way, could go 3 or 4 episodes, sorry. But this is pretty important to me, and I really think that it's timely. Because there's a new technology, there's a new series of fuel injection systems out that are very, very user-friendly. Matter of fact, it's almost like you're talking to Microsoft or something. It's amazing. We'll get there in a minute. But I have to give credit to Mike S. You know Mike. Well, Mike, you know me. He's into hot rods and building cool cars and stuff. At the Key West rally, he brought a Ford pickup, convertible, white, with wood rack on the back. I swear it was the Beach Boys all over. It was a badass car. But anyway, we had a really, really good discussion at the Sunshine Statesman tech session. And hey, there you are, man. Anyway, we had a real good rally, and a real good tech session, and it was about carburation. And Mike brought up something, and the way he explained it, I really want to explain it to you. You know, I take volumes and reams to explain stuff. Man, he went right down to the quick. Think about this a minute. And I hadn't thought completely about this. But, you know, the EPA kind of rules our lives now. You know, we used to be able to, you know, throw Coke bottles in the woods and stuff. And it's probably a good thing, okay? I agree. But back in the 80s, they were doing some tests. They would put a car in a room and then start reading fumes. And the vented tanks, vented engines, all this stuff were putting off fumes, toxic fumes. And the EPA said we have to do something about that. What we need to do is have a sealed fuel system. We can't have any more of these leaks and stuff like that. So right about then, if you'll think back, they went into fuel injection, those throttle bodies, and they made throttle bodies look like a carburetor so Bubba the mechanic wouldn't just run away from it. Okay, that's the truth. They knew way back the direct port and all this stuff, but they didn't have the technology, they didn't have the computers and all that. Well, from the 80s on, the systems have been sealed systems. Well, the fuels have been changed. 10, 15 years ago, if you took, here, let me have a see here. If you took a pail of gas and set it in the garage overnight, half of it would be gone by the next morning, or a large percentage would go because it would vaporize. Gasoline was very, very hot, the vapor burns, and it's very toxic, flammable in that way. Well, today, if you do that, it won't melt away like it did in the past because they put additives and things that made it less fumes, less vaporized. A carburetor relies on that fuel being hot. When it sucks the fuel out, it needs it to vaporize. Well, this new fuel, because of the additives and all the things they're doing, is not designed to vaporize like that. It's designed to be pressurized and then squirted by an injector that makes it vaporize itself with this squirt. You know, and Mike was explaining that. Man, that's exactly it. Carburetors are not working. They haven't been working for a long time. You've been trying to get the best, but it's been going downhill, and we get them rebuilt, and it wouldn't last long. And you know, this last one, the spring fell off. You know, it just drove me crazy. I need something that I can put you in and feel reliable that you'll get there and back without having to call me. And I just felt the carburetors just didn't make it anymore. And Mike explained it in a way that makes perfect sense. The fuels we have today are designed to work with fuel injection systems, not vacuum-controlled suction Windex spray cans, okay? And that made a lot of sense. Well, I drove a coach to the Keys that we installed this. It's kind of funny, it came in a black box, right? This is a Phytech fuel injection. Look at the top of it. Never buy a carburetor again. Boy, that says a lot, doesn't it? They're pretty bold to say that. Well, the problems that I felt we had with the original fuel injection systems were they had to be programmed. Well, okay, this chip does it, but if the engine changes during driving or something, the performance will drop off, and you have to get the engine back up to speed because it needs to match the chip that was put into the fuel injection system. The next generation of fuel injection systems modify themselves constantly. They tune themselves. You don't have to take it to, like, you know, I put on some high-end electromotive direct port systems. It had to go to a chassis dyno, run it up to set the chip, to set all the parameters. And you worked really, really hard to get to air-fuel ratio of 14.1, or somewhere around there is where you want to be. It's a good air-fuel mix, okay? And it's been getting harder and harder to get that when you're tuning on an engine and a carburetor, and they both have something to do with that, okay? So, we put this on. Ease of installation. That was a problem because the old system had sensors going all over the place, and if you didn't know what the sensors were, you couldn't replace anything because it may be a Ford Escort, a Beretta crank sensor, or whatever. You had to have the list of those things. This new system only has two senders, water temperature and O2. And the instructions say that if the water temperature sensor goes out, it will approximate it. And if the O2 sensor goes out, it will approximate that too. So if the sensors go out, they put something in for that, and there's only two of them. So installation of this thing was very, very easy. We figured one tech could do the job in one day, about 8 hours. 8 to 10 hours, somewhere around there. So the installation was awesome. Linkage from the coach to the unit wasn't hard to do. As soon as you get the right pressure and the right movement, the physical, the mechanical movement, that's all there is. There's no more buttons or knobs or switches or anything on this system. The thing's all in the throttle body. The whole, everything, the computer, the whole 9 yards. Wires come out, and you just run to where you want to be. One's to ground, one's constant, one's ignition, one's to the water sender, one's to the O2 sender. Right, there's 5 wires. And then if you want to get really fancy, you can set it up if your air conditioner's on, it'll idle it up or whatever. You don't have to use all that. Now, programming. On the screen, it has a touch-sensitive screen. It's not like the old days where you have a button and you push left 4 times and enter and all this. No, it's a screen, and it's a touch-sensitive screen. I told it was a V8 engine. I told it was 455 cubic inches. Told it it had a mild cam. Ours are mild, comparably. And I told it I wanted it to idle at 950 RPM. That's all we told him. Turn the key, went over one full turn, fire. Kind of running a little rough. It's starting to learn. 10 minutes, idle perfect. Air-fuel ratio is 14.1. Idle is 950. It was amazing. Just plain amazing. Well, okay, you can be impressed with that, but I want to go drive it because that's where it hits. The rubber meets the road. Well, drove to the Keys. As far as vapor lock goes, that drive would do it. Even in the spring, it gets hot. Didn't have any vapor lock issues. That thing worked perfect. It worked flawless. It turned on immediately. It turned off immediately. Every time, did not miss one full stroke. Not even half stroke. It was amazing. And it's not just Phytech. I'm not just saying you got to go buy a Phytech, which I believe that Phytech has probably taken the reins and jumped out first with the system. There's a lot of reviews and things. But the technology is going to be in all of them. I understand that Edelbrock's making one, Holley's making one, and they're all hitting a price point under $1,000. So it makes it cost effective to do something like this. And I tell you, absolutely, it's so close to just shut the hood. There's nothing under there to do. It's all on the screen. I mean, it's really amazing. The way I look at it, if I restore a coach, and I don't want to put somebody in harm's way, well, I'll buy one of these, I'll put it in, and then I'll buy another box, brand new, just like it is, and put it under the sofa. So if he's out in the